Welcome everyone. We will be talking about strategic management in today's presentation. It's a brief introduction as what exactly is strategic management. Remember, strategic management is nothing but it is all about the organization's ability to manipulate its resources to achieve its goals and objectives at the fastest possible time in the cheapest possible fashion. That is what strategic management is all about. It. Remember, the resources utilizations to satisfy the customer demand at the best possible price and best possible time frame. Strategic management involves setting of objectives, analyzing competitive environment. Now we're talking about analyzing both internal and external environment, evaluating strategies, ensuring the management roles on the strategy across the length and the breadth of the organization per se. The process of strategic management, there are basically four processes. That is one of environmental scanning, strategy formulation, strategy implementation, and the evaluation of strategy. So yes, first and foremost thing, you need to scan where are you operating, what are the threats and opportunities available for you. Accordingly, you will design a particular strategy. That's the formulation part of it. Do you think only designing strategy works? Because that strategy needs to be implemented, executed. That strategy needs to see the light of the day. And probably once it has been executed, you will see whether it has exceeded the expected objective or has some distance to cover. And probably that is where the strategy evaluation comes forward to it. So yes, strategic intent is all about mission, vision, and objective. Strategy formulation is of SWOT analysis of strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat. Corporate level strategies, business level strategies, and strategic plans. Then comes the strategic implementation, project, procedural, resource allocation, structural, and behavioral, as the case might be. Again, I repeat, project implementation, procedural implementation, resource allocations, structural implementation, and behavioral implementation. And last but not the most important step, and the most important step would be strategic evaluation. We are talking about analysis. We are talking about assessment. Now, everywhere you need to put up a tab. You need to keep on monitoring, be it the intent uh, phase, be it the strategic formulation phase, the strategic implementation phase, or the evaluation phase thereof. Now, we'll talk about the elements of strategic management. Some of the important elements of strategic management are competitive advantages, SCA or sustained competitive advantages, resource based views, industrial organizational views, resource and capabilities, relationship between resources, capabilities, competitive advantages, and strategy thereof, and obviously the vision and mission statement. Remember, this is what brings out the core part of strategic management. We are talking about everything that the company, organization, or the corporation is good at it, what and how they will work so that they achieve their end objective as soon as possible. So, yes, first and foremost thing, you have to have a broader vision. A broader vision are just an indicative goals and the aspiration of the business. But based on these vision, will you start building a milestone? So adding milestone to your vision would turn it into a mission. What the company exists? Why does it exist in the first place? So if you have this mission, basically the vision might be to make a better place, world, the planet as a better place to live in. Mission might be probably providing hygienic, healthy cleaning materials per se. That's a mission. An objective will be what kind of cleaning materials and the company can flow down altogether. So the objective is the result what the company aims to around it. Is it cleaning in the sense of health and hygiene? Is it cleaning in terms of utensils? Is it cleaning in terms of atmosphere? Is it cleaning in terms of energy, clean energy? So what are we looking at into it? Remember, the vision remains the same. The mission changes, and then the objectives comes about it. Strategies is long-term plan. If based upon which paradigm which we have chosen around it, we will plan and design a greater objective, and based on these strategies will be approaches, methodology to execute the long-term plan, the milestone that needs to be taken care of to achieve those strategies. And on a day-to-day activities, each approach needs to broken down into tactics, smaller, focused action plan that suppose the overall strategies thereby. So, conceptual framework for strategic management is something which has been depicted out here, absolutely out here. We're talking about the analysis and evaluation of the internal external environment. This is what comes around it. If we are going to go for it, yes, this is the internal and external environment. We are talking about mind mapping, internal environment, bench marking, and foresightness. Now this is what is upstream. We'll be looking about it. Now once you have done this thing, this will give me the identification of stakeholders and environmental factors, the key criteria for success, competitor performances indicator, preparation for future scenarios as the case might be. This is what we are looking forward to. Now then comes the strategic values. How good are we at it? So this is all about compatibility factors, values, and scenarios. The change in strategic directions, strategic priorities, and strategic challenges thereby. Now this is the statement of values in terms of vision and directions, network goals, strategic concepts, role of strategies, strategic plans, and indexes thereby. Now, what is strategic decision making? Strategic decision making is a process of understanding the interactions of decisions and their impact upon the organizations to gain the advantages. Wrong decisions taken at the wrong time may result in catastrophic consequences. In other words, the power of strategic thinking lies in combining the power of right decisions with the right time. So that is decision making is a part of understanding as to what is happening in and around and how do we react so that it benefits us in the longest phase of time. Remember, any wrong decisions taken any of the wrong time may result in all wrong thing happening to the organization. So power of strategic thinking lies in combining the power of right decision with the right time. So this is what right decisions is all about it. If you look into it, the flow would be like this. So identify the problems. We need to first identify the problems, and immediately after we have identified it, seeks information associated with the problem. Brainstorm those things, brainstorm the solution, possible alternative, and of that possible alternative, choose your best possible alternative that you are comfortable with it. Once chosen, implement the plan and probably evaluate the outcome. Now, this is a simple way of arriving into a decision making process altogether. So issues, what are they? Issues in decision making, there is no theoretical model per se that represent different dimension of strategic decision making, but definitely we'll try to understand the strategic decision making by considering some of the important issues related to it. Now, these issues are all about criteria for decision making. These issues are all about rationality in decision making. Now, you might have a number of options, but certain options are beyond your scope of things. Probably the resources are not at your disposal, so it gets eliminated automatically for adoption. So you need to understand the rationality thereby. Creativity in decision making is something wherein we need to think out of box, probably come up with solution which nobody has thought, and it might be a noble solution. Initially, there might be resistance, but eventually, if the things are working properly, I don't think people are going to reject it. So individual versus group decision making, definitely this group decision making takes a longer period of time vis-a-vis individual decision which might take in a split of a second. Variability in decision making, absolutely yes, because of this perspective in group decision, you have a 360-degree views, a number of perspectives creeps in, and you will see a lot of options going around it. So variability definitely is there. Person related factors in decision making is wherein an individual will be thinking from his or probably her point of view, background, exposure, experiences thereby. So you need to go for these issues in strategic decision making. Let us understand the issues of strategic decision making as far as the criteria thereby, the rationality in decision making, the creativity, the variability, the personal related factor, and the individual related factor, as has been already been noticed and discussed in the previous slide. So let us look into the strategic formulation process. What is strategic formulation? Strategic formulation is the process of using available knowledge to document the intended direction of the businesses, the actionable steps to reach its goal. This process is used for resource allocation, prioritization, organization wide alignment, and the validations of the business goal. A successful strategy can allow your organizations to share more than one clear vision, catch biases for altogether, We need to understand the biases as on when on basis. A successful strategy can allow your organization to share one clear vision, catch biases by examining the goals and the reasons behind it. We need to look at the KPIs, the key performance indicator thereby. Now, let me share certain tips for the successful strategic formulation process. Number one is start with the purpose. Absolutely, what is your end objective? Consider the current levels, current event, what current scenarios that is happening. Consider data, case study, trends, what is happening in and around you. Set and effectively communicate goals. When I say effectively communicate goals, you have to share your vision, share your aspect, share your reservations with your team member. They should clearly know what is going through and what is being expected, why they are asked to behave in a particular fashion, take a particular step, because until and unless your subordinate, your team members aren't with you, you will not see success, much of a success. Think of strategy as an ongoing process. Why? Because it is evolving. Why? Because the environment is dynamic and things might change and might not go as per plan. So be flexible in your approaches. Strategic formulation process will be all about defining missions, defining objectives. We are talking about assessing environment, threats, opportunities, internals, our strength and weaknesses. Consider alternative opportunities with competitive analysis and choose a strategy. Now, these are basically strategic planning process. But what happens with implementation plan? Implementation plan is implementing strategy through complementary structures, complementary system and operational processes. Set up controls and evaluation of the feedback to ensure the success feedback to the planning as the case might be. This is what we are looking forward to, is the strategic formulation plan. Now, strategic management model involves making decision and taking action. It's as simple as it is all about you. You make a decision and based on a decision start working towards it. That can help the organization achieve their objectives by adopting a systematic way of formulating the strategy, implementing the strategies, and evaluating the control and the strategic implementation implemented. Strategic management therefore integrates various functional areas like marketing, management, finance, accounting, human resources, production, information system in a formal fashion, a systematic manner consistent with an objective of an organization, superior performances. This definition also suggests that the strategic management comprises three key components, namely the strategic formulation, strategic implementation, strategic evaluation, and possibly strategic control. So, three key components are formulation, implementation, and evaluation. The three major components plays a vital role in various functional areas like marketing, management, finance, HR, production, operation, and so on and so forth. This is what has been depicted for you to understand. Right from the top, it is all about vision, it is all about mission and objectives thereby options that goes around it. We are looking at internal analysis, external analysis, industry analysis out in this program. Probably choose the right alternatives. Once done, we are looking not only at the short term but also at the long term programs and policies as in the objective. Now, this is what we chose from goals to become strategic alternatives, from strategic alternatives to implementation. Now from implementation we are moving to the evaluation and control. As far as the system process control as the structure of an organization is considered, once this has been done, you need to evaluate, control, and probably are being delighted by the performances or not. This is what we need to go around here. This is the star performances that comes around with you, and probably you bask at the glory that your vision was on the right side, your goals were on the right side, your analysis alternatives were also chosen in the right fashion, implementation was impeccable or the otherwise, and so on and so forth. So yes, it's another depiction of what we have actually done right now before it. So we start with mission. Did I say in the previous slide it was vision, then mission and goals? Probably that's the only difference. We understand, analyze the internal and external analysis, be it about strength and weakness, be it about opportunities and threat. We pick up the right choice depending upon the HR requirements of skill, behavior, and culture, and the practices that comes around it, the capabilities that we build, and probably this leads or translate into the firm's performances. Now, before moving out, let us get ourselves accustomed to corporate governance. Remember, in strategic management, it refers to a set of internal rules, a set of internal policies that determine how a company is directed. Com- Corporate governance decides, for example, which strategic decision can be decided by managers and which decision must be decided by the board of directors or the governors or the shareholders. So corporate governance is basically the administration of the company that goes around it. Is it at done by the managers, done there, or they should have the full support and the decision should percolate right from the board of directors or the shareholders thereby. So that will tell me corporate governance per se. So principles basically are very simple for corporate governance. One is a sustainable development for everyone, every stockholders, to ensure growth of all individuals associated with or probably even affected with the enterprise on a sustainable basis. Next is effective management and distribution of wealth to ensure that the enterprise create maximum wealth and judiciously uses the wealth so as to create and provide maximum benefits to all the stakeholders. Enhancing wealth creation capabilities to maintain sustainability as on when on basis. We need to go across with it. The elements, the last but not the least slide for the day would be your elements are the vision, mission, and things like that. What I'm looking at visions and mission is the elements of the board and the committee, the top management. What is the elements of mission and strategy is should be compliant with the regulatory framework. It should be compliant with the legal framework of the land. So that needs to be done. What is the direction between vision and goals? It should be all about your policies, procedures, and how do we proceed with it. The transparency are going to be an opaque organization or how transparent that we are going to look into it. It will tell me, the vision will tell me, will according to the vision we've got to set up the goals around it. And what happens with strategies and goals, it is all about your hierarchy, your internal control. Remember, at the crux of it is the corporate governance. Corporate governance will entail and tell whether the organization is managed in which particular fashion: autocratic, dictatorial, democratic, transparent, flat organization, tall organization, and so on and so forth. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video till the very end.